Hey guys, this is Carlos. Facebook page Scarlet and Sable. I am working on the Blood Angel tutorial. I'm focusing on how to do the base coat right now. I wanted to do something that was relatively easy to do, but I thought would give kind of a high quality result. The primer I'm using, the Mission Models primer, black, is a pretty good primer. It behaves similar to Stynol Res, but it's even better in my opinion. It flows very nicely, especially when combined with their thinner. Here you see the pink primer. After I got complete coverage with the black primer, I was going to do pink to help highlight the red. It's something I heard about, I think, from the company itself. I think they said that the pink is recommended for red, or that people who like to use a pink base layer for a red overcoat, that's something that you could do. The pink did not flow nearly as well as the black. It was, in fact, incredibly hard to use. I may need to thin it a little bit more for how I spray, or maybe I needed a higher PSI or a larger needle, but it was clogging nonstop. I actually had to clean the needle off, I want to say 7 or 8 times while I was filming this. It was literally drying on the tip about every 15 to 20 seconds. So when it was spraying, though, it sprayed just fine. It didn't like splatter or anything. So despite being somewhat unuser friendly, it still was. It was good enough to get the job done. I'm gonna have to go back to the drawing board on that particular primer color. I know there's been a little bit of discussion about the usage of the primer. In this case, they recommend, I believe, 25% reduction. I did do that. I still just could not get the primer to flow. So you can see I'm applying the pink as a zenithal highlight. That's how it's being used in my application. I even went back and did a little bit with white. I believe that step was unnecessary. I'll talk about that when we get there. But another word about the black primer, it went down very thin, very smooth, and I had to go back and fix a couple mold lines in the black. It was pretty tough where I applied it. I mean, only minutes after I had applied it, I scraped away a mold line, and it didn't like lift up, didn't peel, and it scraped really well. So the black, definitely big winner, and the pink was good enough. Hey guys, I am doing the all over glaze coat of my red color. I don't show the red in the video. The two colors I used are Baal Crimson and Beherit Red. Baal Crimson is kind of a pure red. The Beherit Red is more of an orangey red. They're kind of close together, and in retrospect, I should have chosen maybe something a little bit further apart. They still, the color ends up being very red. I just ended up doing 2 highlights, one highlight of a 50-50 mix of Beherit Red and Baal Crimson, and then I did a 75% Beherit Red to 25% Baal Crimson, and I'll include those paints and ratios in the description. The second highlight, I actually, once I had covered the pink and I got adequate coverage, I highlighted again with the golden high flow white, and then covered it with the Beherit Red 75% Baal Crimson 25% mix, and it came out okay, though I don't believe I needed to add in the second highlight. It was already a very bright red, and it actually kind of didn't seem to have much of an impact. So maybe if you had more black on the figure, it would have created a bit more of enhanced depth. There's a way to post shade with the airbrush. It takes a little bit of skill, and it's a little tricky, and I have done it before, and sometimes I like to kind of work that into some of the models that I painted, but it's a bit much for doing, I believe, this kind of a tutorial, and I didn't really, it wasn't going to add more than it was going to take to explain, and I wouldn't say that it's going to add enough value to make it worthwhile putting into a video like this. I believe that the result will be satisfactory with the highlights I've chosen. So just a note on thinning. I created a thinner using about 90 to 95% of the scale color thinner. It's the scale 75 acrylic thinner, and then I mixed in about 5 to 10% of liquitex flow aid. So it's not really nothing special, just I added some flow aid because of the tip dry that I've always experienced with scale 75. And in this first part I did about a 2-to-1 thinner to paint ratio. So if you were going to, drop them out measure wise, it would be, I think, about 4 drops of paint to 8 drops of thinner, approximately. I mean, these are all approximations. The second time I did only a 50-50 mix of the beherit red Baal crimson mix to thinner, and that still seemed to work. I think the flow aid really has made the difference with the scale 75 thinner. So if you're going to be spraying water-based acrylics, it's pretty important, I believe, to include flow aid. And if you can get it, the Vallejo airbrush flow improver is also a good product to use. I use it in my airbrushing, and it usually makes it a lot less painful to spray water-based acrylics. So that's about it for this part. You can see I'm going back over with the white right here, and then I added in that second highlight, the 75% beherit red, 25% Baal crimson over that. And again, I don't believe that this was a necessary step. I believe that you could have glazed or sprayed over that glaze coat over the existing highlight work that had been done. The colors are so close together, and it was so subtle that, I mean, it's really, I'd say, indistinguishable. But nevertheless, if that's something you want to try, you can always try it on something that you're not going to put into your army, that isn't going to be a showcase piece. You want to don't experiment on your your hero models. Experiment on rank and file, or experiment on something that you don't even care about before you commit to this kind of stuff. So this is, again, don't try this at home type moment. It worked out just fine. The red looks good to my eyes, and I'll show that probably in this video. I'll include a thumbnail or just a short clip of me showing off some of the finished product. I think after this I'm going to do maybe a non-metallic metal or a wash tutorial, and then I believe there will be a weathering portion, because that's, as some people know, my favorite part. So this is not going to be necessarily as in-depth as the ultramarine tutorial, mostly because a lot of what I do in this video is covered in the ultramarine tutorial, so I don't know if it's absolutely necessary to cover that ground again. But anyhow, thank you for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next part. Hey guys, here's the mini after the glaze coat, and I've painted up a couple other elements. I recorded, I believe, painting of the chest eagle and decals, and you'll see that in another couple short videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.